Well, I'm caked in fresh dirt and sweat from today's run in my Zero DIY sandals, so I figured no time like the present to give you an in-depth look at what you can expect if you buy this kit. Let's dive in. All right, as always, we're going to take a look at our shut test and see if this sandal passes or not. If you don't know what the shut test is, check out my link in the description below to watch the video on what to look for in minimalist shoes or sandals. All right, first S is for sole. Now, this DIY FeelTrue sandal kit comes in both 4mm and 6mm options. I have the 4mm. It is incredibly thin, incredibly flexible. The lightest, most flexible, thin sole that I've found in any sandal or shoe thus far. I really like these. They're clearly super flexible. Um, yeah, I really, really love these. They're solid. They have little tiny lugs on the bottom for some extra grip. The only thing that'll take some getting used to is when your feet get really sweaty in these, they will slide around here depending on how you lace it. But as long as you just get some good dirt in your sandals if you're doing trail running, that helps mitigate that a whole lot. So the sole, I love it. Passes with flying colors. It doesn't even look like I've worn any on it, but I've put a whole lot of miles on these over many, many years, definitely in the hundreds. So yeah, sole passes with flying colors. Next, H is for heel. So we want a zero drop heel as always. And as with all Xeroshoes, it passes once again with flying colors. No issues here. It's completely flat. You can see it's a little bent, but that's just how it's laced. But you don't feel that at all when it's on your foot because it's so thin and flexible, it flattens right out. But it is a wonderful zero drop heel. All right, next we have the upper. Now, in this case, the upper is a complicated question because there's an infinite number of ways you can strap this on because it is a DIY kit. Now, here I have pretty close to the traditional Hiracha style. Now, I did go ahead and splurge and spend the extra $5 to get the toe post and the heel strap so that the paracord wouldn't be directly on those highly sensitive pressure points. And this style also allowed me to double up on the cord everywhere, so that way I don't have a single strap digging in. It's always doubled, and that spreads out the force a little bit as it presses against your skin to hold it onto your foot. Now, of course, the two things to make sure different ways to lace this. One, you want it to keep it on your foot very thoroughly, especially if you're doing any running. It needs to be a secure fit, so you're not having to toe grip to hold it on, and so it's not sliding around so much that you're getting chafing issues. But number two, you don't want it to be too tight, so you don't have to cinch it really, really tight to keep it on your foot, because that's going to restrict blood flow to your feet. And of course, that's no good. So as you experiment with these, there's an infinite number of ways. Just jump on Google and you can find 100 different ways to lace these. Just experiment with them. Don't be afraid to try a lot of different styles and see which one works best for your foot and your gait and your usage. So that's the upper, a quick look. Again, a lot of variety there, but it's fairly easy to make it a pass as far as the shut test goes. Just see what works best for your foot and make sure it meets those two criteria of keeping it securely on your foot while not being overly tight to restrict blood flow. All right, lastly, toe box. Obviously, it's DIY. You cut it out to the size of your foot. Now, I will say, make sure you don't cut them out when you're playing with your kids, because as you can tell, this one is a little bit off, so sometimes my toes do dive off the edge a little bit because I wasn't paying close enough attention when I cut them, and you can't add sole back onto it. But you can easily make this a big enough toe box so there's plenty of room for your toes to spread, splay, and grip the ground the way they're designed to. So again, passes once again with flying colors. All right, let's step outside and I'll give you a look at these in action on some natural terrain. All right, so now that you have a little bit of an idea of how these move, I'll tell you, I use these for hikes, I use these for trail running, and I absolutely love them. They're really great. The only thing I dislike is, like I mentioned before, sometimes when your foot gets really sweaty, it can slide around a little bit extra. With adjustments in the laces, you can kind of mitigate that, but when it's a really, really hot day, The rubber directly on the foot can sometimes get a little bit slidey, which I don't love, but overall I do really like these. However, I only like these on natural terrain. If I'm, going to the store or walking around on a sidewalk for some reason, pushing the stroller, I don't care for these. They're just so thin. They don't provide any protection from the hard man-made surface that's never changing, never varying. It's always flat and pretty level. So I like to be on a natural environment that's a little softer, or even if it's not softer, if it's really rocky, it's always varied. So when you're on the solid pavement, it's just the same input over and over and over again. So personally, I don't really care for that. But I will say, if you're really into barefooting, that can work well because it will protect you from the heat if it's a hot summer day. But again, that's just not a good fit for me, and that's not how I personally use them. The other thing to note is if this is your first pair of minimalist anythings, that's great. However, make sure you transition very, very slowly and know that you're going to need to change the way you walk and the way you run because more than likely the way you're walking in your regular shoes aren't going to be natural enough to be able to do these safely and efficiently. So as you put them on, just pay attention to how you feel as you're walking, as you're running, and adjust your gait accordingly. There's lots of good resources out there to look at natural styles of walking and running when you're wearing something like this. So overall, like I said, I really like these. The longevity is excellent. This is probably my second or third pair, not because the others wore out, but because I like having different lacing styles. If I was thinking ahead, I would have brought them to show you on video. But there are, again, a lot of varieties. Just jump on Google and you'll find it out. And yeah, that's the end of my DIY sandal review. Hope you enjoyed, and let me know what you think in the comments. This video was brought to you by the Functional Feet program. If you want to learn how to have happy, healthy human feet, or how to transition into minimalist footwear and barefoot living, then head over to movementtraining.co to get all the information you need to know. Also, don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on our most active social profile, which is Instagram. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.